Let us look at the poll of polls because we already have so many of them in Vasu, and it's pretty clear as far as Uttar Pradesh is concerned. Every exit poll is showing a clear victory for the BJP. The numbers are certainly going, sort of swinging wildly between 211 and 277, but it is showing a clear victory for the BJP.
So this is huge because as Gilles Vernier, Trivedi Center, who was with us earlier, is telling us, this could be the first time that a chief minister serves 2 successive terms, full terms, since the time of G.B. Pant. This is after independence. So this is a massive achievement of the BJP, even if, Nidhi, the numbers have come down. So from 300, the average now is 230 to them. Big increase for the SP from 47. They're now 3 times as many. They've gone up to 150, but not enough to actually defeat the BJP. But the BJP will take it, even at 230, even at 240, as long as they've crossed the halfway mark.
Yeah. A win
Jo
is a win.
Jeeta wo Sikandar, and that's a big, big win.
And then, of course, you have the big story from Punjab, which is that every poll is showing a victory of the Aam Aadmi Party. Again, the numbers are sort of, is it going to be 61 or is it going to be as high as 90? The Axis exit poll on India Today goes up to 90 seats for the Aam Aadmi Party. So, if you look at the average now, it's a clear win for the AAP, Vasu.
That's again another kind of, like UP, this is again kind of historic because you've got a new party, a kind of startup party that's going to come to power in a big state. And if the AAP, this is showing, halfway mark is 59, AAP is at 68. That's going to actually, Nidhi, in from the national politics, because AAP is now looking to expand, and this is going to give it a big boost as it tries to get into states where the Congress is weak. This is a huge story coming out of this election. Okay, let's look now at Uttarakhand, where you have, ideally, again, as we are talking about how this should actually have been a win for the Congress, because Uttarakhand has always changed governments since the formation of the state for the past 2 decades. But here again, Nidhi, the point about discontent, anti-incumbency, when it comes to the BJP up against the Congress, BJP is still just about ahead. So it's
much closer, yeah.
Kante ki takkar.
It is actually Kante ki takkar, to use that terrible cliche, but that's what it actually seems to be in Uttarakhand. And it should have been, like you said, a state that the Congress could easily take back from the BJP.
Yeah.
Given that the BJP has changed chief ministers 3 times in the last, 2 years,
yes,
and has faced so much infighting, but then so has the Congress, right? And which is the story of the Congress in so many states now. So this
the turmoil within the house of the BJP, but unfortunately so much turmoil within the house of the Congress that it kind of cancelled out.
So what do we have next? I think we've got Manipur next, and I think again the polls there are 2 polls that have come for Manipur, and it's clearly in favor of the BJP there. Vasu, a state that the Congress once ruled for many years, now has gone completely the other way.
Look at that. That's actually showing that the BJP is sweeping Manipur again. And again, that's very interesting because as our colleague Ratnadeep has been reporting from there is discontent. People are upset about price rise, about the lack of jobs. But again, a weakened opposition, strong message from the BJP that they managed to bring peace to Manipur, a Bandh-free Manipur, bridge the hill and the valley divide. And once again, it's looking like this is going to be a big repair. Sorry, before we go to Angels, do we have Goa or we're going now? Okay, fine.
We've gone into UP. Okay, so these are the different exit polls just for UP alone. And, from ETG research there, Vasu on top, to TV9, Bharatvarsh. Do we have India Today on this? Because I think a lot of people would, right, Access hasn't come out with UP yet. I guess they're saving that for 9 o'clock.
Okay, so if you look at
but the others are there.
Right, if you look at the agency-wise, just look at that range, because TV9, Bharatvarsh and NewsX, which both seem to be using Polstrat, that's, like if you look at the lower end of it, 211 is quite close to the halfway mark. And then going all the way up to 240, 245 for some of the others. So that's interesting, because it could suggest if you have a 1 or 2% swing, then it could suggest that the close race could be even closer than this. So it'll be interesting to see, as you mentioned, Access and the others.
Yeah, and what the numbers are. And again, when we look at the poll of polls here, the BJP is comfortably placed. The only
thing, Nidhi, I would say is that there is a political kind of implication to having a number which is closer to 200 than away from it. Because remember, Yogi Adityanath's chief ministership, we've seen the rumblings, we've seen the internal questions over his leadership, particularly after the second wave. The BJP threw its full weight behind him, despite the possibility that they were considering of replacement somewhere around April, May. They decided to fully back him, that iconic image of the Prime Minister with his hand around Yogi. But if the numbers come closer to 200,
then
will there be some question mark over Yogi Adityanath? Will he come back as Chief Minister or not? These could be interesting questions to consider.
Well, there have been all kinds of conspiracy theories about that, and whether his wings would be clipped or whether he would actually emerge as a successor to Mr. Modi at the national level if the BJP comes back with a comfortable majority. So that certainly would be interesting to see. Here we are, Goa, Vasu's favorite state, and here also the Congress seems to be in a slightly better position, says India TV, Vasu.
Yes, India TV has actually given the Congress a comfortable majority. I mean, I would be extremely circumspect about that number. I think the overall kind of trend that you're seeing in Goa, where you're seeing a kind of ding-dong between which is going to be the single largest party. It's Goa's heading for hung, the question over who's going to be single largest. I think that is going to be more a realistic outcome. Some suggesting it'll be a repeat of last time, where the Congress was around 17, BJP was around 13. Some suggesting the reverse, that BJP could be the single largest party. In fact, I think India TV CNX is suggesting that BJP even may cross the halfway mark. But Goa is going to be...
But it's those other players, right? The TMC and the others, I guess, in that column would be AAP, etc. What exactly happened with that campaign, right, Vasu? Because the TMC went all guns blazing, big leaders crossing over, big press conferences, and then it just, boom, it just kind of evaporated.
I think the TMC, that the Prashant Kishore kind of mergers and acquisitions model of political entry, where you come in, you try to quote unquote buy a large number of MLAs. The IPAC became the Trinamool Congress in Goa, where people were actually dealing with a political consultancy rather than a political party. All of that didn't seem to resonate very well with the people of Goa, and it actually kind of gave a fillip to the Congress, because the TMC took away all the Congress's so-called bad apples, all the chief ministerial contenders except one. So the only person left, Digambar Kamath, in the Congress, if the Congress single largest, there's no contest for him.
Right.
So the TMC ended up kind of cleaning the Congress's house, and its own campaign collapsed. So Goa, but the thing, Nidhi, is that if Goa is going to be hung, then I can tell you, like you have Aya Ram, Gaya Ram.
Oh yeah.
Aya Lobo, Gaya Lobo.
Yeah. I can't keep up with Goa. I can't.
Is already going to start.
Uttarakhand. Okay, Uttarakhand is the state we've been talking about. The state where the Congress actually has the one big chance to sort of take back from the BJP. But again, if you look at the individual polls, it's quite close. I mean, there are a couple of polls there, Vasu, that are giving it to the Congress. 30 up to 38 seats according to C Voter. But look at the. I mean, if you look at the overall poll of polls for Uttarakhand, Kante ki takkar.
Yeah, if you look at the poll of polls, then it does suggest that the BJP has the slight edge, which again goes back to what we were saying. But just imagine, Nidhi, that if you looked at some of the opinion polls that came out, and when they talked about chief ministerial preferences, Harish Rawat was way ahead of all the other candidates. He was polling at almost 30–40%. But yet, this is where the Congress finds itself, because Harish Rawat was fighting his own battles within the Congress. He was publicly tweeting his anger at being marginalized. He was embroiled in resolving the Punjab crisis, right, while Uttarakhand was completely in campaign mode. So all of this may have come back to haunt the Congress.
And then we come to Manipur. I think there are now 3 polls that have come in from Manipur. It's all the same story, Vasu. It's pretty much the same story across these different exit polls. 4 polls actually, not 3.
Right. So with Manipur, after almost 15 years of dominance, when the Congress collapsed, they spectacularly collapsed. So not only did you have Biren Singh, who's of course the current chief minister of the BJP, former football player, who crosses over to the BJP, but since 2017, large numbers of Congress MLAs have left and joined the BJP, as we're seeing in state after state. And so the Congress really has been a rudderless ship in Manipur. The BJP, meanwhile, has thrown everything at retaining yet another northeastern state. And so, Nidhi, what we could be seeing in Manipur is what we are seeing in other northeastern states. As the Congress starts to collapse in places like Tripura and Meghalaya, the Trinamool Congress has come in and started to occupy that opposition space. After this, if this is going to be the outcome, you're likely to see that now in Manipur as well.